Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reach. Reach is where we're going to try to reach out to the families around the state of Florida and provide some support, some guidance. We're going to be bringing some specialists in certain areas to you all to hopefully help out in raising your children, caring for yourself. And we're really hopeful that this is going to be a good resource to the families out there that have been in contact with us, that has shared with us that they don't have access to services. They don't have access to professionals to kind of give them some guidance along the way. So for our first session, since it's July and a lot of families venture out to the theme parks, we wanted to have a presentation on accessing the theme parks. Because although, there was a lot of bad press and some of it was warranted, after Disney changed their policies on how accessible the rides were, and because it used to be you didn't have to wait so long for rides. And so everybody kind of got a little freaked out about that. And we came across this woman who is amazing at knowing the tips and tricks of how to access the parks in a very autism-friendly way that is supportive to families, to individuals with autism. And we just wanted to make sure that we bring that resource to you guys. So today we have Margie Hedlund. So Margie lives in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is in Broward County. But she ventures up to Orlando quite often. She's going to share some of that with you guys. She's been married for 30 years to an amazing husband. They have two children, both boys. They're identical twins, and both are on the autism spectrum. She's retired after 23 years with working for local government, and she has served on many different committees, task forces, in support of children with autism. One of her hats is she is a school board representative to ESE Advisory, representing her area. She's been involved with the Parent Teacher Association, the PTA, for 7 years, some of that as the president. So she has a lot of experience in helping all families, not just families of kids with autism. And currently, she has the pleasure of serving on the board of the Autism Society of Florida. So we're super happy to have her with us today. So Margie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hi, Stacy.
You too. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
Well, as you just mentioned, I've been married to 30 years to a really good guy. I am retired now, and I have two amazing children, Dalton and Martin. They are both 12, and they are both on the autism spectrum. And even before our kids came along, my husband and I were huge Disney fans. So when the boys came along, they were destined to be Disney fans as well. And we brought them for the first time when they were 11 months, and we will go on our 42nd visit in October. So we've been there a lot. We love it.
Holy cow. That's a lot of times.
But we figured it out. We got this. We got this. We got this.
So when a family first starts thinking about a vacation to the parks, in Orlando specifically, but it certainly could really be anywhere, what are the first things that they need to do as they start on the planning process?
My first tips would be location where you're staying. And because we're talking about Disney World today, I will say, if at all possible, stay on the park grounds. And you do this because once you park your car, you never have to get the kids in and out of the car. You have the monorail, you have the buses, you have the boats. And Disney also has this really cool thing that just started last year called the Disney minivan. Now, I have a picture of it to show you. It's a minivan. Get it? Minivan. Get it? Minivan. And this will take you and your family like a lift anywhere on the grounds you want. It is about $20 to go from place to place, but if you use it throughout your trip, you start getting discounts. It's a really great thing, especially at the end of the day. Maybe, sometimes the kids have had a really bad day. They don't even want to get on the bus. So we take the minivan. So location. And if you can't stay on the grounds, there are several hotels around Disney World. They are Hilton hotels who are authentic Disney hotels. And what's great about these places is they have free shuttles. So even though you're not on the grounds, again, your transportation is taken care of. Second big tip, the time of the year you go. You mentioned we're talking about July and it's summer, and that's a great time to go. I believe for anybody who isn't a Florida resident. If we live here, guys, let's let all the tourists go during the summer, and let's go on those months that it's less crowded, at least for that first visit. Look for those times throughout the year where the parks are less crowded, more accessibility, and maybe less overwhelming for our kids.
And what about like, do you have any advice on the preparation as far as maybe social stories or those
Yes,
kind of things?
I recommend that you sit down with your children or whomever you're taking and come up with a plan. What parks you're going to go to at what times, plan it out. I don't know about everybody else's kids or individuals living with autism, but my kids love schedules. And we create a schedule and then we create a social story with inside that. You know, we have pictures. This is the Magic Kingdom. And when we go, we're going to go here first and here first. The more aware and prep we can give our kids, it makes it easier when you get there. Nobody likes the unexpected. Nobody does. So a social story, pictures, make a list, have a plan, takes away a lot of the anxiety.
Have you guys ever used like looking at YouTube videos or anything like that to?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of families have gone before us and done this. So I would say for search for those videos, look online. Even the Disney website itself, they have 4 different individual PDF printouts that are for every park. And they look like this. And there's one for every park. Okay, this is a little small. My printer was acting up today. But print these out and take these with you. They tell you really cool things on here, cool places to go to calm down. They warn you about visual stimulation, hearing stimulation, mobility problems. It's a really great cheat sheet for every park. And we are going to put that link up on the Autism Society of Florida's website, so you can go back later and grab that. It's basically a social story in itself telling you where to go. Um, I think bringing that with you is amazing.
Okay, great. And I just put the link up there so everybody can
Great.
look at that.
Yes. Download those.
Um, and I'll leave that up for just a minute. And then, guys, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and put that link. You'll see it there, but we'll put it on our Facebook and on the YouTube as well, so you can see it. Okay, so we all know about, that there were some changes into Disney and how
Yes.
things are done. So can you describe a little bit about what that change looked like for you and how you sort of overcome some of the original challenges that it might have included?
Sure. As most of you might remember, that was in 2012, and it scared me just like it scared all the families. All of a sudden, the accommodation that we were used to was gone because sadly other people abused it. We used to have this. Remember this, guys? We took this and we could go on every ride as many times as our kids wanted to or needed to. Well, that was gone. Then they came up with this pass. If you've been there in a while, this was what it looked like. And this was just a pass where you wrote on the back of it the times you could come back. Now everything's gone digital with the magic bands. So everything goes on the magic band. Your DAS pass, your fast passes, everything you need. So I saw this really great quote back in 2013 from the director of all different services for Disney. And this is what he says: what do you need to make this trip successful? How are we going to make you happy at the end of the day? It's an individual thing, guys. So, what I learned is when I get to Disney now, I go into City Hall, which is guest services in the Magic Kingdom. That's usually the first park we go to, get our bands, and then I make a list of the rides that my kids need to go on. Now, notice I didn't say want. This is a need. There's a certain ride that if Dalton doesn't go on it 3 times, he has a meltdown. Now, we've tried with the social stories, and it's just this little kid has got to go on Winnie the Pooh 3 times. He needs to for him to have a successful day at Disney. So, this is the last one. I literally make a list of every ride that my kids need to go on. And I walk in and I hand it to guest services. What they will do is they will load on your fast band the passes that you need for that day. So, like, the boys needed 6 in Magic Kingdom, 5 in Animal Kingdom, and they will load them. And again, remember, it's not what you want, it's what your kids need to have a successful and happy time at Disney. And they're accommodating, they will listen to your individual needs. And in the rare case that you get a cast member who's maybe not understanding or not listening, don't get frustrated. Ask to speak to somebody else. We've had that happen as well. But they get used to it. And when you go for the first time and you put in all those accommodations, right? You say what you need to go on, they'll create a number for you. This is a little M number, and this is a little thing I made up to save their time. I say, here, They bring that up, and it says all about the Headland family, what Martin and Dalton need, what's best for them, and you don't have to explain it the next time you go. And the great thing is, if you go to Disney World and do this, they can set you up for all the parks. So one time at the Magic Kingdom, tell them everything you need for your trip. It goes on your Magic Band, and you're set. Now, with that said, you can still do the wait return lines. Now, how that works is, I think most people that have gone are familiar, but if you've never gone, there's the rides that some of them now, oh my word, they're like 3 hours to wait. Okay, so you go up, you say that you want a return time. They put it on your band. What that means is you can go do whatever you want and not have to stand in that line and come back. So my big advice is just tell them what you need. Tell them what your kids need to have a good time, and they listen. Be specific, and don't be afraid to ask for what your kids need. It's worked out great for us since that 2013 trip. They've given us everything we've needed, and we go at least 3 times a year, and I can't say enough about how wonderful they've been.
So for parents who may have never been to the park and
Mm-hmm.
haven't really done any of this before, so well, let's just use Magic Kingdom because a lot of times that's where families begin. That's their
Mm-hmm.
first trip to Disney. So when they come through the gates,
Mm-hmm.
where do they go?
Okay, when you come through the gates, you're going to go under the railroad track. It's the beautiful display when you first walk in from the ticketing gate. And the first building on your left-hand side is guest services, and that's where you're going to go. It's the old City Hall. They actually don't have City Hall written on the building anymore. It just says guest services, but it looks like a government building. As soon as you walk in and go into Disney, it's on your left-hand side. That's where you're going to wait in line to speak to a cast member and explain to them, I'm here with Dalton and Martin today. Look, the callback lines are good, the wait times, but look, my kids really need to do these 5 rides, and we need to get out of the park. Can you load the fast passes on here? And they do. Go there first and take care of your whole trip that day. Even if you're only going to Magic Kingdom, but you're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have that first person load everything so you don't have to go back every day. Another great thing about these, Stacy, is they take your child's picture. You know, a lot of times when we're talking about safety with the Autism Society of Florida, we talk about having a current picture of your child for those of us who have wanderers. You know, our kids like to wander away. The great thing is they're going to take your child's picture and it's going to be in the system. So, God forbid your child wanders off or anybody wanders off. The park immediately has that picture that morning that they took of that person, and they can get it out there. So that's a really great safety benefit, I think, to these bands.
So we have a question, and she says, if you don't have a Magic Band, can you use your park ticket?
You can use your park ticket. If you're staying anywhere on the grounds, these are free. If not, you can purchase one. They're about $14. You can scan your ticket and get they will give you a big one. In other words, if you're just using your ticket, they'll give you one of these for the callback times if you don't have a Magic Band. And once you get a Magic Band, you can reuse it for every visit you go to. I think if you can, it's a worthwhile investment. Get it once and you can put everything on it. And here's the great thing, because somebody's out there saying, well, my kid won't put that on. My kid won't wear that. They make them like, look, this is a cool Star Wars one. They make them fun. And you know what, guys? If your child won't put it on, I know this doesn't help the safety issue, but you can put it on yourself to access the rides. Because when you go up to the rides, all you do is press this up against a little Magic Mickey and you get in.
Yeah, somebody's saying that they don't give the paper anymore. And I know from my experience, we didn't have the band. We just had the card. You know, your ticket is like a credit card.
Okay.
And we just used the credit card and they just scanned it at every ride. So Margie uses the band, but you can just use the cards.
Yeah, we got this in December of 2017. So you know what? I haven't had the opportunity to use them. So thank you, whoever just told us that, because I didn't realize those were completely gone. I just like the bands. They're pretty. Just saying.
Okay, so aside from the ride passes, is there anything else that the parks do to accommodate people with disabilities, specifically autism?
There are areas throughout the park, and those are going to be on that link that Stacy shared, that are called quiet or cool places. So, like underneath the Swiss Family Robinson tree, it's not a part of the actual exhibit, but it's this wonderful shaded area with park benches. That's recommended for our families if you need that cool down. So they do have designated spaces that they recommend for us in those guides for us to go to relax and maybe get away from it all. And again, specific needs. If you need a specific thing, I just wouldn't be afraid to ask, because I've only been told no once and we worked that out. But they really will accommodate what you need for your child or the individual with you who has autism.
What about accommodations for food?
Oh,
Getting your food.
well, if you're, as far as the budget goes, I always recommend the meal plan. I mean, the meal plans are awesome because you know before you go in the park that day that you have your um, lunch, your drinks. It's all, and it's really discounted. If you need to bring in your own food, if your kid only eats that special kind of Cheeto, and I've been there and you know they don't have it in the park, you are allowed to bring it in a Ziploc bag. So they'll let you bring it in because their rules say that you can bring it in special formula or food for a child based on their needs. And we have learned that that counts for our kids too. So we bring in Cheez-Its. Well, I won't tell you everything we bring in case Disney's listening.
Well, what about though? Isn't there something where you can pre-order?
Yes. Oh, another great thing with the My Disney app, which we haven't spoke about yet, which I also recommend everybody gets, the Disney app. There's this great new thing for the counter services. So you don't want to go into the big restaurant. You just want to go to the fish and chips place or to the sorcerer's hot dog stand. You can go on your Disney app, order the food, head on over there. Now, instead of waiting in that big line for my families who've been there, and you go into the orbiter and there's 100 people waiting in line, there's a special line for you. You take your mobile app over and your food's waiting on you. I highly recommend you use that whenever you're going to the park. It saves so much time. And download the My Disney app. It tells you wait times, real time. You're heading to whatever ride it is, and it will live update for you and tell you what the wait times are, which shows are coming up next, where the closest bathroom is. The My Disney app is free and it's great.
What about transportation in the parks? Getting from one place to the other, and what are the benefits of staying on grounds?
The benefits of staying on grounds are definitely, like I said, the transportation, because it's free to every park. Once you get in the park, if you do need something um, like a stroller or a wheelchair, those things are obviously accessible. Um, but staying on grounds and being able to go from one park to the other by boat, by bus, that's huge to me. Nobody wants to get in the car and park. And if you don't have an annual pass, parking, you pay $22 to park. So if you're going to jump parks, you could spend $80 in one day on parking. So I highly recommend, again, if it's feasible, to stay on grounds. And there's some great hotels that are really family friendly and reasonable. Um, so staying on grounds, like I said, especially if it's your first time, do that so you don't have to keep getting in your car and driving. Oh, and if you stay on the grounds hotel, see the light bulb go over my head? If you stay on grounds at the hotel, there's this really cool thing called special magic hours. So only for those guests that are staying on grounds, every morning and every night, one park has special magic hours. So maybe tomorrow morning it's Disney. And from 8 to 9, it's only open for people staying on grounds. This is a wonderful time to go and get on all those rides and maybe not have to use your fast passes because nobody's there. And one park a day always has a morning and one always has an afternoon. And you only have to be staying on grounds at any of the hotels and you get that extra magic time. Another tip is, speaking of extra time, if you've seen the parades, families, a lot like we have, and you know them by heart, talking from my experienced families, and you don't want to watch the parade again, as soon as that parade starts, hit back to Tomorrowland or Fantasyland or one of those places where everybody else is watching the parade and you can go hit the rides. Now, for my new families, you do have to go see the parades. They're amazing. But that's also a really great tip. When there's ever anything going on, maybe it's a musical performance at the Magic Castle, and your kid has sensory issues with sound. My Dalton can't stand when the Cinderellas Castle comes alive and they start playing music, but everybody's there. Head back to Frontierland and go ride on all those rides.
Okay, great. You mentioned that area as far as like a sensory break over there by
Mm-hmm.
the treehouse. Is
Mm-hmm.
there any other place in the park or parks that are
There,
places just
there,
for them to regroup?
there is, and this has a list of them. It has a list on here. Um, Another great tip, I don't know if it's on there, but Cinderella's Castle walkway. So you have Cinderella's Castle when you go to the back of the park, and people walk through it to go to different areas. Nobody really is inside the castle in that part. It's sort of a walkthrough, but they've got benches. It's usually cool back there. So on both walkways to Cinderella's Castle, they have pit stops, if you will, with these beautiful benches. Not many people stop just to sit because everybody's in a hurry to go everywhere. But we find going to sit outside Cinderella's Castle is a great place to take a break.
Great. So for the families that are going on a budget,
Mm-hmm.
so do you have any tips for them as far as what would be, like you kind of started talking before about like the best time to go.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about a little bit about the cheapest time to go, and just like give if you have any specifics as to like where the cheapest place to eat is, because I know sometimes just for families sit down for lunch it's like $100.
And that's where that food plan comes in. If you get the food plan, which includes your lunch, that's also a great way to budget because you buy the food plan before you get there. So you know before you get there, it's all paid for and you know what everything is going to be. And that way you can also do that plan. So, no, guys, we're not going here to eat. Look, this is where we're going. Um, and if you stay on grounds, heck, I bring ham and turkey and we go back to the room sometimes and have lunch to cool off and go back into the park. Another benefit of being on the grounds is you can go back to your room to decompress and maybe eat something. Now, if you go to the special events, for some of my families, like you said, who have never been, and you want to go when it's less crowded and there's a little more fun stuff, they have events like Mickey's Merry Christmas Party, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. The great thing about these events is they only sell so many tickets. So the park is going to be less crowded. So you go to these events, and like for Mickey's Merry Christmas, there's free hot chocolate and there's free cookies and there's specials all night long. Same thing with Not So Scary Halloween. They have free candy. The kids can go around and trick or treat. And again, smaller crowds, and it's just decorated a little nicer. And it's a great time for us to go.
Cool.
And that's a
Okay.
cheaper ticket price too. Sorry, like
Ah,
it's $135 to get into Disney right now for the day. Mickey's Merry Christmas or like Halloween, I think is 85. But the great thing is you can go into the park at 4 o'clock and it doesn't close until 2 in the morning. Maybe that's for my bigger kids, but you're getting all the extras and it's a little cheaper. That might be a good experience to do your first day at a special event.
yeah. And for those that are coming for their first time, is there anything else that you can think of that might be important for them to know?
See my button? See my button first visit? We have buttons for everything. Buttons, whatever you're celebrating. We have all these buttons, right? So if it's your birthday, put your kid's name on there because you know what's really cool as they walk through the park, the cast members interact. Happy birthday, Dalton. Happy birthday, Stacy. Your first time button, you're going to give a little extra attention because everybody loves those first time. Um, as far as identifying my family and my needs, over the years, I've worn some really cool autism awareness T-shirts. Um, we're proud, we're different, and we love it. Um, so I recommend a button. The button can just have your child's name on it. Um, so if they do get separated, and another thing, Stacy, in the planning and maybe in that social story, it's really important to teach our young adults, our young kids, who is safe. So every cast member has, the cloud. If you don't know, they have a cloud on their shirt with their name and it says cast member. And we'll put some of these symbols up that we've been talking about to help everybody see them. But that's a cast member. And I remember when my kids were younger telling them, if you ever get separated, find a cast member. And that's who is safe and a person to go to, because it can be overwhelming in there, but the cast members are roaming all over the place.
So speaking about safety, what are some of the things that are even a thing that a family can do before they go into the park so that they can ensure that they have a safe day if they do get separated from each other?
Well, the DAS pass that we talked about, they take your picture. I would still take a picture of my child that day, what he's wearing, because if your child does elope, you don't want to show a picture of last Tuesday in the backyard. You want to show a picture of what your child was wearing that day so they're accessible. Um, talking, having a meeting place for our older kids. If you get separated, um, figure out a place that you will meet up. Um, our kids are smart. We've done that with our boys now that they're 12, and sadly, we've had to use it once. But if you get lost, go to the meeting place. Um, Going to the front of the park, guest relations, even if you don't go to Magic Kingdom, I think it's worth going and getting the DAS attached to your band or your card, because you have that picture in there, and that's going to help their security team um, find them quicker. So a plan, letting them know what a cast member is, a place to meet up, and a picture that day when you get to the park.
Yeah, something that everybody should think about too, and it's funny because a lot of people don't think about this, is when you take a picture of your child like that morning, like Margie said, get their shoes in the picture.
Absolutely. Great tip.
We kind of have to be prepared for people that are, dangerous people.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've taken children before, they will change their clothes.
Yep.
But they usually do not deal with the feet because they'd have to have multiple sizes, frankly.
Yes, that's a really good tip.
Don't forget the shoes.
Full body shot.
And then the last question we have is the exit. So the exit can be a little crazy at the end.
It can be crazy for everybody.
How can a parent exit the park and not freak out?
Okay, so there's two ways to do this, guys. When they close the Magic Kingdom, and when they close most parks, this is true of Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot. Nope, not Epcot. They do a parade at the end. Or at Epcot, there's the big fireworks. There is an event that happens right before the park closes. My advice, especially for our kids that don't like the sounds of the fireworks, when you see the fireworks, get out. I say that because when everybody stays to watch the fireworks, you've got tens of thousands of people exiting out of this space. So either get out when the event starts, or pack your patience. And if you stay for the parade, hang back for a little bit. Don't fight with the mass that is trying to pile out of there, because inevitably people are pushing and shoving and everybody loses their mind. Everybody can't wait to get in, can't wait to get out. So either when that last event happens at Epcot, it's fireworks. At Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom, it's usually a parade. That's your cue to get out. If not, like I said, pack your patience and let the stampede get out first.
Yeah, I know too, over time, sometimes we would leave the parade and go ride.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's a part of staying back. Yeah. When that last parade or fireworks happens, you can definitely head into those different rides, maybe that were really crowded earlier, and get on them. And that's an example of pack your patience. Go do your rides, let the front of the park get out, and then go forward. And you're going to figure it out. You know your child best. You know what he or she, or your young adult, or he or she likes. Have a plan, but definitely don't try to get out with the masses as soon as the parade ends, especially on Main Street in Walt Disney World. Nobody likes that crowd, and especially anybody who maybe doesn't like to be touched or cramped. I'd take one of those other two options.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Margie, so much.
You're welcome.
For coming on and for sharing all this great information. And what we'll do is we'll get some visuals together. We'll go ahead and post them on our Facebook page so that you guys can see some of the things that you need to set up in advance. Visual task strips, a social story, things like that are worth gold sometimes. Because sometimes it's, when you go into the park, it's very confusing for pretty much everybody who walks in. And if you can structure it a little bit so that your child has something to refer to, what am I doing first? What am I doing next? What time are we having lunch? And through the supports that Margie just offered, you can stick as much to the schedule as you can. And I think that will help your experience there.
And grab those park maps, everybody. They have great park maps. We sometimes take a marker with us and check off as we go around the park. The park maps are free, they're colorful, they're very easy to read. Grab a bunch of those when you get there. Find a shady spot or a cold drink and, make your plan from what you have.
Right. We will upload this video to our YouTube channel so that everybody can refer back to it as you wish. Next month, we're going to cover, because it's going to be August, we'll be going back to school. So we're going to have somebody come and talk about how to get your kids ready for back to school. We're also going to be having a speech language pathologist, the certified behavior analyst. So we will continue these little talks. And we hope that you guys who are on the call, we hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you refer back to the YouTube channel. And like I said, we'll continue to share the information that we can. If you have any certain areas where you really feel like there's something really out there that you wish that you knew more about, message us at the Autism Society of Florida, and we will dig around and we will find a professional to be able to speak to you guys about it. All right? So have a great day. Thanks, Margie.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.